another session. We're getting near the end. We are discussing more about the policy changes that the organization is proposing. And my guest in this episode is Miss Melissa Villegas Drake, who is part of the board of directors along with me, but is also a very seasoned leader in the organization with a lot of history and part of the future of the organization as well. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to talk today about nonprofit scaling. And for the audience and those that might not understand what scale is, it's about having a bigger impact and reaching more people. Okay. So when any organization, whether it's a startup business or it's a nonprofit, it doesn't matter. It's usually a founder, a person who's super passionate about a topic and they have a dream, they have a vision, they start the thing. And then the organization starts growing. Sometimes not, sometimes they intentionally keep it small. But in the case of SHIP being a national organization serving 50 million plus Hispanics in the United States, for us to continue to serve more people, we have to think about scaling our operations, our infrastructure, all of that. Now, Melissa, you have some interesting experience. One, as a previous president of the organization at a time when we were volunteer led, but you're also startup founder yourself at this time. So you bring a lot of different perspectives on how organizations start and how they grow. So let's see, what do you think is, let's say, two big differences between how SHIP was run 20, 25 years ago versus how it is run today?
It is very, very different. When I was ship president, I think we had a staff of maybe 3 or 4, and then everyone else was a volunteer. At one point in time, we had an executive director, but when I was president, that was only 1 year. So my second year, I had to do both jobs of executive director and president, but I didn't get paid. Um, and it was like I had my own business. I got thrown into the fire, because I had to manage the employees, the budget, and luckily I had a good board that supported me and helped along the way. But, it's so hard to imagine what we did back then with all volunteers. I mean, we did contracting stuff for like the conference, for example, but we did it.
And you also had a full-time job.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
had a full-time job. Yes.
Hmm.
And uh now, we have a staff of 27, which before we had more actually, probably 50 something, but now it's 27. And we're doing what we can with those 27. And because of the latest budget impacts that have been affecting us, we have to be more creative with the money we have. And um, serving as a board member for 2 other organizations besides this one has given me some insight on how to manage money. So that's good. With my own startup, it's been quite challenging because we have very little money. So I'm very good at stretching and organizing. So I think they got lucky, or the board got lucky with me being treasurer this year. Mm.
Yeah, and so we have come from, just to let people know, when Melissa was president, I was national student rep on the board, and so we come from the same season in the organization, and now we're on the board again with the goal of preserving what is worth preserving and making changes where changes need to be made. And so one of the things that I can use as a very tangible point of reference is that we thought convention was great my senior year when we were on the board because we reached, I believe it was like 2,700 attendees. And so we were super excited,
Mhm.
largest convention ever. And now we are, in LA for the 50th, we hit 15,000. So very different logistical conversations, very
Mhm.
different budgets, um, a very different planning process leading up to, because things that in the past we could do with volunteers and manage, just with a large team of volunteers now takes a large team of volunteers and, like you were mentioning, people who are very good at negotiating contracts in the event space and people who can really think about the logistics of things and have industry experience to suggest best practices so that we can continue to accommodate a larger membership and a bigger impact. So one of the things that we are looking at doing, for example, as an organization in this season, is to be able to, well, and we're doing it already, but we're doing like multi-year contracts. We're going out to bid for conventions and things like that, multi-years, and being able to negotiate that uh, in advance is helping us with the money. It's helping us with logistics. If you know where you're going to be for, 2, 3 years, then you can plan accordingly. And granted, we could do that as volunteers, but having individuals that are dedicated to that is very helpful in alleviating the burden of board members and committees and teams and things like that because our jobs are not at stake. We don't have to figure that out. So, what are some of the things that you think the organization needs to continue to work on? And maybe now in your position as treasurer, but just in general, if you were to point out, say, 2 or 3 things that the organization is dealing with now as we are managing growth in the midst of, budget constraints.
So definitely, we are not what we used to be when I was president. We are much, much bigger. Um, and with growth comes change. And I'm not a big fan of change, but it's necessary
Mm-hmm.
because you can't do things the way you used to do them before because it's not going to work. You have more members, you have more staff, you have more contracts that you're having to deal with now. So it's a different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still quite impressed how the convention runs so well, um, despite the different changes we've had in the past with personnel and staff and board and committee. It's done really, really well. So I think that's great. Definitely. Um, definitely can improve the conference for sure and make it better for all involved. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking at too is how can convention be better for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And with the budget that we have, without increasing it and being frugal but effective at the same time. So looking at that, uh, looking at overall our financial situation, how we can bring in more money, how we can cut certain things or not cut, but maybe do things a different way where it would save us money. And sometimes people get comfortable with the way things are running, and it's not until you have a problem that you start looking at these other things within the organization to make things better.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way it's good that, we're lacking some funds because now we're really looking at our processes more closely to see if they're really value added
Mm-hmm.
And if not, we'll get rid of them and do something better, something more feasible. So I always think with challenges, there's always good that comes out of it. I think it makes things better for the
Mm-hmm.
organization.
So thank you for that. I think two areas that I am excited for. One is our digital transformation initiatives and projects. For those of us that have been here since the one
Mhm,
ship days and our volunteer um, created and maintained systems to where now we're looking at other systems that are more enterprise level, that are
mhm,
more standardly maintained. And obviously there's a cost increase with that, but those are the trade-offs. Those are the trade-offs, that when it's volunteer led, then you are depending on the availability and the accessibility that a volunteer can provide. And sometimes they're amazing, and sometimes they are less than amazing. Still great, but maybe
mhm,
not exactly what the organization needs. So that to me is a very tangible difference, a very specific example of how serving more people requires systems that are more sophisticated, more
mhm,
comprehensive, where we can think more enterprise level integrations and manage multiple things. And so that's one area where I'm excited to be a part of, but also thinking of what's possible for the organization moving forward. Things like communication and marketing depend on data, and being able to collect that and track that and understand all
mhm.
of that. So there's a lot happening there. Um, and another area that I'm very excited for, and I won't even talk about entrepreneurship today, although today is a great day for entrepreneurship. But I am also looking at our ability to bring our chapters along. We've made some changes, and I'm going to call them growing pains. I didn't
Mhm.
like the growing pains. So one of the reasons I came back to the board at this time, I said, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've
Mhm,
made changes in order to accommodate growth. I think the pendulum swung too far in in one direction, and so we need to bring some things back that
mhm,
strengthen our volunteer base,
mhm,
because we have a very sophisticated volunteer. We have people who are very capable, who have either completed their undergraduate education in fields like
mhm,
engineering, right, math and science and whatnot. But we also have professionals all along the spectrum. And so
mhm,
having those individuals involved with the passion that we had 20 years ago,
mhm,
even though we have staff, I think it's such a great mix of
mhm,
passionate volunteerism with very skilled staff. And that to me is the winning formula. So I am looking forward to how some of these changes are actually going to create space for us to strengthen our internal leadership pipeline and bring
mhm,
back Nila, bring back the support for our chapters in ways that were really good, and then revamp those regional structures.
mhm,
I am imagining super strong regions
mhm,
that are growing, that are serving more people, and that actually gets me really excited, because
mhm,
ultimately that's what we want to do. And so in order to do those things, we have to do the changes in infrastructure. We have to put new staff in place in different places, and that costs more money. We need to have new software and new operation systems that give us the bandwidth to speed up transactions and work with
mhm,
more for less money, like you were saying. So that to me is what scaling a nonprofit means. And it's how I see scaling at this moment in time.
mhm.
So is there like a parting thought that you want to share with everybody regarding what scaling for SHIP can look like?
Well, um, it can only look better or be better for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have a lot of growing pains, but we're still growing. And we've been around now for 50 plus years. So that's not nothing. You know, we've
Mm-hmm.
survived despite everything that's been happening with the country, right? So, and I
Mm-hmm.
think because of the passion of the members and because we have a staff that also has passion about our mission, we are successful. And I think we'll continue to be successful because we have a lot of people that really care about the organization and they're not going to let it just die.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I think we are very optimistic about what's coming because we'll work together as a staff, as a board, as committees, as members to make SHIP successful because I don't think anyone wants the opposite, really.
Right.
And and really everyone is working towards making SHIP better. You may not agree with certain changes, but as we grow, we have to change. And it's a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
requirement.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna go ahead. So,
so no, I mean it's just what is needed to keep going.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that and say that I myself, I enjoy change. When something new comes along, that's just my personality. Um, but I miss and not with nostalgia necessarily. It's not like, oh, when I was a student, it's not that. I miss being able to go to different workshops and in the hallways between sessions, meeting people
Mhm,
that I didn't know before and walking away from whether it was a regional event or a local event or national, walking away having met someone new. I'm not about
mhm,
five new people. One new person is enough for me.
mhm.
And then 10 years later, saying, oh, remember when we met, right? And maintaining those friendships and those relationships, which I think is really ultimately that is familia to me, is the long standing friendships and people that become more than acquaintances. And so I think that we can still do that at SHIP. I believe that if you can walk away having made a new connection that is going to be part of
Mhm,
your life in a positive way for years to come, then you've met a new prima, a new
mhm.
hermana or something, right? Una
Yeah,
tia.
yeah.
So yeah, so I am looking forward to more of that, so that we can continue to preserve familia even as we scale and bring more people along. So it's like weddings, It's like you're inheriting you're inheriting family. So I
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's the thing about our organization, it's a family. And I think that's why we are also very successful because something, it's not just a corporate or business thing. We really care about what SHIP is all about. And the people that are in it right now to support it, to work with it, all feel the same.
Hmm.
Um, Yesterday, I saw the last episode of The Bear. Do you know that show?
I have heard of it, but I have not seen it.
It's really good.
Okay.
It's a family that owns a restaurant and they come together to make the restaurant successful. And they're
Hmm.
not all family though, they're friends and acquaintances as well. And that
Hmm.
reminded me of shit because, what they were doing was doing their best to make a particular night where it was raining and pouring and the restaurant was falling apart.
Mm.
All these bad things were happening, but they had a successful night.
Hmm.
So I see us as, doing that also, but, for 50 years, 50 plus
Yes.
years.
Yeah, many nights. Many successful nights.
Hmm.
All right. Well, thank you, Melissa. And everyone, stay tuned because there's more coming. We have a few more episodes coming your way. Make sure that you are checking in with us. Thank you.
My pleasure.